Okay, welcome again to the San Francisco Center for Spiritual Living.
Where Susan Wilkinson and Ben Cortez also just forgot to announce these people I haven't seen in years. So. Sorry.
That's all right, Joe. That could be part of this, like the town
amazing.
crier, just keep announcing, right?
I'm the announcer. May I introduce to you?
Yeah, well, you've got the voice for it, that's for sure.
Wow.
Okay. Interesting that we all showed up for today. I know that we all came out to celebrate Betty, but I find it interesting that today's talk is on something that Mark Nepo touched on, but most of us would simply choose to avoid. Let's see if I can capture the title. The title says, No Approval Needed. That's the weekly topic. And this is the monthly theme called Cultivating Authenticity. And the yearly theme is called Living Out Loud. It's necessary to live out loud because if you're not living out loud, it means that you are living quietly in a whisper. And while that is living, it is more of an existence. Unless, of course, in that quietness, you are contemplating your own beingness to such a degree that your beingness is speaking for you when your lips remain silent. Now that's true life right there, when you don't really have to say anything. People just know who you are. You know who you are. Everything is working from the consciousness of that knowing. Well, that's already what's going on. Unfortunately, we're not happy with the knowingness about ourselves. And so therefore, what's happening around us does not suit us either. And the root cause of this and what we're talking about today is shame. Oh my goodness. I said, oh no, not shame. We don't want to talk about shame. Oh my God. So I'm going to begin with the end in mind right here. There's some questions that I think are pertinent that we want to get out here, and maybe somebody wants to take a stab at them. Okay. Where's my questions? Right here. There's a quote here. When you know your worth, no one can make you feel worthless. When you know your worth, what? Okay, that's great when you're talking to somebody else, but this is a message that you're telling yourself. So when you tell yourself this, how does it sound? Well, I got to tell you, we grumbled that one out, didn't we? Okay, when I know my worth, it's like, go to your room. Okay. It's like, it's there, but I'm reluctantly doing this. I don't really want to, man. This is not something, we don't peek at shame. We don't peek at it. When I know my worth, that means whenever I'm not feeling 100% of myself, I have no one to blame. Shame is part of the blame-shame game. The blame-shame game, guilt comes in there too. And we've all played it. Some of us are really, really masters at the blame-shame game. No one's better at it. I once held the world championship title myself for a while. I was the very best. Religious science actually broke me of the habit, and I'm really grateful for that because I finally found something that allowed me to escape the blame-shame game. And it happened because I realized what consciousness is. When I began to study consciousness, I absorbed the idea of oneness and wholeness and unity. And I realized in the oneness and the wholeness and unity, there's no one to blame because it's all about personal responsibility. That doesn't mean that bad things aren't happening in the world. It doesn't mean that I didn't go through the things that I went through. It doesn't mean that people aren't still suffering in the world. It just means that there's something called consciousness that changes things. And even in the worst conditions in the most desolate places, there are people with consciousness that are making a difference and people who are not. And when we study, I'm loving Viktor Frankl, and he talked about how in the concentration camp, the people who survived and moved on were those who took the time to take care of one another. And the only way you can take time to take care of someone else is to get out of your own misery, get out of your own sorrow, get out of your own pain, and recognize that other being on the same plane, or even to elevate them to I guess that's the same thing. You have to recognize their humanity as your humanity. This is what Mark Nepple was talking. This is when your heart, your ear becomes a pedal, and your roots go deep into your feelings, and your feelings go so deep. Your roots grow so deep. You know, you have like what's that? Mycelia? Is that word I'm looking for? Yeah, for mushrooms, there's a network of feelings that you're tapping into that don't even belong to you. They're just feelings, and those feelings come through each and every one of us. And sometimes I'm having rage, sometimes I'm having joy, but the feelings are not who I am. The feelings are what I'm expressing at the time. The feelings are the response of my emotional nervous system, if you will. Brother Ishmael, he gave me a call this morning. My mom's on the way back from Ghana. He let me know he's got my brother at the house. He got my mom at his house. When are you going to have me at his house? And I'm like, well, I'm going to be there, brother. But he has a thing he likes to say. Your feelings are real, but you are not your feelings. Your pain is real, but you are not your pain. Shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. That's Brene Brown. In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, she says, shame needs 3 things to grow out of control in our lives. Telling on myself here a little bit. Secrecy, silence, and judgment. What are 3 things that shame needs to grow?
Secrecy, silence, and judgment.
Somebody knows what I'm doing. Can they get a witness? Amen. Man. And that means we're hiding our flaws. We're hiding our imperfection. We're hiding our pain. We're not allowing ourselves to fully feel, like Mark Nepple said, be in the shore and letting the waves of our emotions and pain just wash against us, knowing that they're not harmful. As a matter of fact, they're beneficial. It's like they're eroding the rock of our immovability. Because when we have shame, when we have this guilt sensation, this feeling, this thing, it stops us from growing. It stymies our ability to open to the divine because we're afraid. And, you know, for those of us who are familiar with the book of Genesis, and I mean, that's not the only holy book, but that's one I was raised on. And I know different stories, but this is a good one. And this is the one when Adam and Eve, quote unquote, sinned. You know, it's crazy because shame comes with guilt and judgment and blame. And so this idea that they weren't supposed to eat this fruit, when God asked him what happened, Adam went straight to blame. She did it. She told me. Threw his wife under the bus so fast. Everybody mad at Eve to this very day. This is how you know when we're trying to find somebody else to take the heat from us. Blame. Now, maybe somebody else is to blame. But the only reason they're to blame is because of decisions that we've made. We have to be willing to take a serious look at our own beingness to escape shame. We have to be willing to talk about what ails us. This is why therapists are in a position where they're, because they're there to just listen. I don't understand people who don't like therapy because this person is paid and you're paying them just to listen. They're going to listen to whatever you have to say. But oftentimes, and I've seen this happen myself, I go in there and I talk about everything except what's really bothering me, because I'm not really prepared to deal with that right now. Are you with me so far? Yeah. Oh, you're just keeping me on point. Thank you very much. I depend on that because, you know, I'll get lost in the quagmire just a little bit. But when you said Garden of Eden, the shame, what I heard though, and that's what puzzled me, because we're all doing this talk together, people. I'm just the reed in God's saxophone. I'm not even the notes being played, and the notes are each of us. What I heard when she said, brought me back to the Garden of Eden and shame, what I heard in my mind was my garden of shame. And that's all the things I have shame about, that I'm not talking about, that I'm not looking at. I don't want anybody to know. This is the shadow we've been talking about the last few months. You know, and people talk about the benefit of doing shadow work. The benefit of doing shadow work allows you to heal the place that ails you, that's hurting you, that you're ashamed of, you don't want anybody to know. And it won't heal, it can't heal until we give it the light of day, until we talk about it, until we acknowledge it, until we embrace it as part of who we are, until we can recognize it. Like, I need to know who wrote that song, that sings that song, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Because I quote it way too much to not know who said it. Okay, but it's the truth is I lived through that. And if you live through it, it can only mean one thing. Does anybody know what it means if you live through it? Well, there's that. But survivor mean I survived it. I crawled out of there's something else it means if you live through it. Yes. You're thriving. Yes. Anybody else? Okay. But say it. There it is. Say it out loud. Did y'all hear in the back? He says, I'm stronger. You see, if you're here and that quote unquote happened to you, it means you're stronger than it. You ever think about that? You're here. It happened. It hurt. It was painful. And it might have been God awful. But thank God you're here. Thank God you lived through it. The blessing is you have overcome it. The thing to remember is that you overcame that. The thing to remember is that you moved through that. The thing to remember is what was it that helped me move past it? Because what's going on right now is I'm on the other side of it and I can drag it along with me like an albatross or an anchor and let it be the definition of my life for the entire time I'm still on the planet. And some of us do that. We have to be willing to tell our stories. I'm going to tell a shameful story about myself just so you can see what it looks like. It's right up there in my shame of fame. When I was a much younger man, totally unconscious. I was cheating on my first wife. The one in the hospital dying right now. Well, she says she's not dying. She's not dying. She's receiving care. Okay, but she has leukemia. And I'm afraid she's going to die. Okay. I didn't know any better. I felt justified. But what I did that I knew was wrong, and see, shame catches you in places where you know you're wrong. And sometimes we know we're wrong because of something that somebody else told us, an imposition of some other idea. It's not even our own. It's just an idea that we've accepted. And sometimes we're ashamed about things that really ain't no reason to be ashamed of. But this, no, this is not one of those. My wife worked nights. I would drive her to work, but I was leaving my children at home. Now that's bad enough, but the work was on the other side of town, and so was my girlfriend. So I'd stop off and see my girlfriend before I came home from work. And one day I came home, my babies weren't there. Somebody, a friend of mine, Mark Nepple talks about it, until you've had pain, you don't understand. He had lost his daughter in a fire when no one was at home. I assumed my babies were asleep, but he could hear them inside. He climbed through my window and took my kids to protect them. Now, I would have liked to be mad at him, but I knew I was wrong, you see. So I had to accept that and know I was wrong, but I didn't learn because I did it again. And the next time, he didn't have them. CPS did. And I had to go to them. Not by myself, mind you. I have to bring my wife with me, which is the reason I'm divorced to this very day from her. This is not something I'm proud of, but it is something I grew from. It's something I learned. And when they examined my children, the guy, he's looking, he said, look, obviously these children are well loved, they're well fed, they're well clothed. He said, I was paying very close attention to you, Mr. Oliver. If they'd hesitated for a moment when they saw you, we'd be having a different conversation. But when they saw you, they smiled, they ran up and they embraced you. Clearly they know they're loved. He said, but this is wrong. You can't do this. And I knew I was wrong. When he got through chewing me out, and rightfully so, he asked me, did I have anything to say? And I said, all I know is if you can just let me have my babies back, I'll never do this again. He'd already given me the routine. I'm going to have to go through the courts and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, when I get through that, as long as I get my kids back, I'm willing to do it. But I was touched in such a way that he had it paddled for an ear. He could feel my anguish. He could hear my sincerity. And he said, Mr. Oliver, I believe you. He said, you take your kids. He didn't say the word that. He said, and you get your ass out of my office. And don't you ever let me see you back here again. And I said, yes, sir, I vowed I'd never leave my children alone again. I grew from that. I'm fast forwarding here. You grow from things. I'm going to the store. I'm at Eastmont Mall. It's a big parking lot. I just want one thing in the mall. If I bring the children with me, it's going to take 30 to 40 minutes to get through the mall. If I go myself, I can be out in 10 minutes. I'm deliberating in my mind what to do, because I already said I'm never going to leave my kids alone, but dang. And my youngest daughter, God bless her, Fatima, she could see the confusion on my face. And she looked at me, she said, it's okay, Daddy. No one's going to steal us. I said, oh, hell no, get out the car. Get out the car. Because we have to grow from these things, not just go through those things. Are you with me so far? I'm telling you this because I'm healing from this. I'm telling this because we have to tell our stories. This is the one I'm telling. There's things I don't tell, but I have to tell them too. And find somebody we can trust enough to tell our secrets to, so that we can get past the secrets, and the secrets are no longer something that's holding us back. It's a secret that's bringing us forward. Because I understand things now that I didn't understand then. I have a different idea about what my responsibilities are. I have a greater understanding of the damage I can cause by not paying attention. I have respect for that brother who came through my window and took my children away. I know I'm a much better parent, because it didn't just affect leaving them alone. It affected how I cared for them. Shame. For some reason, I'm just telling you what's going on with me. The only reference I actually have to shame, because shame is something I really been running from my whole life, because they've been heaping it on you. You know, you should be ashamed because you're a sinner. You should be ashamed because, you know, you're not perfect. You know, whatever these things are. I could just hear, was it Evelyn Champagne Hill? Was her name Evelyn Champagne? Why should I be ashamed? Why should I be ashamed? Disco, y'all don't remember that? Was I the only one to dance to that? Sometimes I think I'm going insane. Still I wanna be back. Okay, but it's another way to look at it. But I like her question. Why should I be ashamed? Oh man. The master teacher Jesus said, he said, remember, whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. He said, why do you speak in parables? He goes, I'm speaking in parables because I'm painting a picture for the people who understand, and the people who do not understand are not going to get it. But pictures are worth 1,000 words. Isn't that what they said? I believe a story is worth 1,000 pictures. And your story is going to help heal you and everybody else you know. This is why you come out and you tell the truth. You tell the truth and you own it. Because there's no way to talk about authenticity without addressing the elephant in the room, the feelings of shame and unworthiness. Shame is universal in the human experience. It is the feeling that we are not enough. It's one of the best affirmations I ever learned, and I learned it from Dr. Margaret Stewart, who went on later to write a book called I Am Enough. And I was having some kind of problem, was probably involved in relationships, because a lot of our angst comes from there. And Dr. Margaret just looked at me and she just said, it just got me right in the eye. She said, want to repeat after me, I am enough. And I'm like, sometimes it just goes right through. And I say, I am enough. You see, if you can use that as an affirmation, whatever circumstance you're in, if you can just go back to I am enough. Well, why is that going to work? It works because when you say I am enough, it's grounded and rooted in the realization that the enoughness I am is not even about me. It's what I'm connected to. And it's not even about a connection. It's about what is the essence of who I am. And what is the essence of who I am is a divine indwelling and self-existent spirit. Yes? that lives and breathes and has all of its being in and through and has all of creation. I cannot be anything other than this. I cannot be anything other than spirit. I cannot be anything other than divine. And if I'm spirit and if I'm divine, whatever is happening right here in the here and now, I'm enough to handle this. Shame is associated with fear. First of all, we're ashamed that we have fear. We think we're not supposed to be afraid, but we all are afraid. Even the most courageous of us are afraid. Courage is actually the ability to overcome the fear and spring into action. Courage doesn't mean you weren't afraid. You know, my dad's a combat veteran, got the Purple Heart in combat, you know, and he asked him, was he afraid? He said, hell yeah, I was afraid. You know, his buddy was pinned down. Everybody was safety except his buddy. His buddy's calling his name, Oliver, Oliver, Oliver. He's thinking, would somebody shoot this man? So he quit calling my name, because if he keeps calling my name, I'm going to have to go in there and get him. You see? And he's afraid. He acted past the fear. I'm telling you this because I'm thinking of Feel the Fear and Do It Any. Susan Jeffers, she has this idea. One of the things that happens with fear is we think we're the only ones going through. We think we're the only ones who are ashamed. We don't need anyone to see it. Everybody has shame. One person said, I wear my shame. I think it was Job. He wears it like a coat of maggots, decaying his own being, because shame acts as a decay. It's a corrosive agent to our consciousness. Are you in so far? Anybody willing to let go of some shame today? Okay, no hands. Okay, one. That's one of the good things about 12-step programs. You go in there and you talk about stuff. You talk about what's hurting you. You talk about what you're crying about. You talk about these things. And let me tell you something too. You're not going to be alone in there. There's an old joke. I didn't think I made this up, but I love it. I've been telling it for, you know, the difference between a 12-step program and a CSL community. Everybody in a 12-step program knows they have a problem. And they're going to get help. And that's why they're there. And you won't be the angriest or the saddest person there. I guarantee it. I get that's whenever I feel really mad, when I really go to the meeting, start talking about how mad I am. Somebody corrects me. You ain't the maddest one here. You ain't the saddest one here. Shame is universal in the human experience. It is a feeling that we are not enough. It is a fear of being unlovable that convinces us that if we work harder, change ourselves, keep some parts hidden from others, and maybe when we finally become enough, we will then be worthy of love and connection with others. Man, that doesn't even sound possible, does it? You cannot fill the hole in somebody else's soul or consciousness. You cannot equivocate the pain of somebody else if you have not done the work on your own self first. Because see, when you fill the hole in you, then the overflow of that helps fill the hole in others. But if you have a hole in you that's left unfilled, unaddressed, unexamined, then you're giving from an unexamined self, an incomplete self, and trying to help somebody else. And the reason you're really trying to help the other person is because you're unwilling to do the work it takes to help myself. You see how I switched it around you back to me? I didn't do that on purpose. It just happened. And I noticed it. So it's about recognizing that right where I am, and just I always have work to do. And the beautiful thing about conscience, and I love the law of attraction. I hate the name because I don't believe we're attracting anything from anywhere, because in the field of pure potentiality in the mind of God, everything is always happening at the same time everywhere. And so I'm not attracting anything. I'm just vibrating on the frequency of the thing that I desire. And once I vibrate on the frequency of the thing that I desire, then the thing that I desire, automatically I can see it. I mean, how many times have you looked for something, you know it's there and you can't find it, you know it's there, you can't find it, you know? One of the members here, was it Carol Clemens, who came up to me after I did this talk one time, and she says, you know, I've seen that happen in my own. I'm looking in the drawer for my keys. I know I put my keys in there and I can't find them. I call it being out of phase with reality. She said, I called my sister. I said, would you get my keys out the drawer, please? Because I know they're in there. I just don't see them right now. So we have to embrace our pain, embrace our shame. Embracing our shame is forgiving ourselves for whatever we believe we have to be ashamed of, and forgiving all the other participants that may have involved in that activity. Because it means I'm willing to grow past this now. I'm willing to, when I say grow past it, I mean I'm willing to sink my roots into this now and draw nourishment from what once gave me pain. Do you understand what I'm saying? What once was a toxic experience now becomes a source of strength and fortitude because I've now embraced it as a part of who I am. It's not something that happened to me outside of my own beingness. It was my own consciousness creating a scenario for me to grow to the apex of my brilliance, my bedazzlement, my resplendent beauty. And I'm not saying these things lightly because this is true about all of us, but it requires, you know what? If you want sweet vegetables and beautiful flowers, you're gonna have to put some BS on them. Isn't that right? Meaning we got to change our belief system. I know you know that's what I meant, right? It's our belief system. You got to change our belief system. But the way we change our belief system is we stop damning what happened to us and begin to bless what happened to us. Not because we liked it, not because we enjoyed it, but because we know we're growing stronger from it. And that strength is going to help me to push on and persevere and solve greater and greater mysteries and become greater and more strong. And when a situation will occur where someone else might need some help, the overflow of blessings that flow from me will be enough. And I continue to stay full because I'm drawing my strength, my succor, my love, my beauty, my joy from consciousness. It's about living from gratitude and finding gratitude for everything that's happened in your life. And when your gratitude is challenged, you're grateful about that. I had a situation when I was going to the forum. You know me, I usually like to put on some kind of African attire. I like wearing my colors, you know, it's a way I feel good about myself. And I guess one of the guys there didn't particularly care for my attire. And so I showed up one night and he says, wow, that's a very interesting outfit you have there. I said, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. He said, well, I didn't say it was a compliment. I said, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment too. Because I don't have to be rattled by what anybody says. And the killer was later on, we're at a diner and I'm sitting at a table by myself because I'm used to being by myself. Spirit's telling me you've never been alone, Wad. You ain't never been by yourself. But that's what I do when I have shame issues. I get quiet. I go by myself. I don't need nobody's help. I don't need to talk to anybody. Because the shame that I have, the shame of, especially as a male, is like being unable to get things done the way you want to get them done, the way you think they should be. We get taught this crazy idea that we're supposed to be in charge. We're supposed to be capable. We're supposed to be able to do stuff. We're supposed to, and nobody's doing all that stuff. Even the people that look, I'm crushing it. No, you're not. But we're not talking about the place where it's crushing us. We have something else to do this afternoon, so I'm going to have to draw this to a close, but I want to get to some things here. We already talked about talking with somebody about our shame, yes? In the Yoga Spiritual Devotion, a modern translation of the Narada Bhakti Sutras, there's a quote that says, our stresses, anxieties, pains, and problems arise because we do not see the world, others, or even ourselves worthy of love. Worthy is an interesting word. I prefer it to what most people like to use as deserve. Do you deserve something? Well, to deserve something requires a certain amount of effort. You worked for it, you earned it, or, you know, by some divine dispensation, you're allowed it. Maybe somebody gifted it to you, therefore you deserve it. But that's not what worth is. Worth is your intrinsic value. Worth is just who you are. Everybody's worthy. Everybody has the same amount of worth. No matter who you are, there's the same amount of God. Dr. Holmes says in the snail, if God is in the snail, that doesn't denigrate God, but it glorifies the snail. And what you want to learn to do, what we want to learn to, what I'm learning to do is to bring in the presence of the divine in all of my interactions, in every circumstance, every person, every situation, every anticipation. I'm always knowing that I'm standing in front of God. I'm always knowing I'm standing in the presence of God. When Moses saw the burning bush, said, take off your shoes, you're on holy ground. I always know I'm on holy ground. And quite frankly, I'm just going to say it. I know I'm on holy ground because I am standing on it. And I'm holy ground. The holiness is in me, operating as me. It's not separate from me. When I show up, consciousness shows up. When I show up, God shows up. When I show up, holiness shows up. It cannot be otherwise. But in order for me to live and breathe and have my being this way, I have to know that everything I experience is God in action. Everything I witness is God speaking back to me. Everything I'm going through is part of the divine plan. And I can't blame anybody else, make anybody else wrong, shame anybody else, guilt anybody else, or do something to get out from under whatever feeling that I'm having in the moment. I stand in that moment and just begin to bless it and everyone. May all beings be blessed, the Buddha say. May all beings be blessed. Tiny Tim said, God bless us, everyone. And if we can do this, when we do this, when we allow this to be the mantra, when we allow this to be the ballast of our ship that keeps us level in the surface of consciousness, then our sailing is easier and we catch the winds of our own destiny and we just allow life to happen. Namaste.
Well,
Offering, right?
I think,
Treatment,
yes.
offering. That's what I thought. You're about to say prayer, offering. Okay. So one of the areas where we carry shame is finances. And here's an opportunity to address that shame by practicing the law of circulation and recognizing, you know what, the law of circulation is how the universe works. And when I practice it, I'm stepping into the flow of the universe and we're letting go of all guilt, all shame here today. Right now, we're going to practice this right now. We're forgiving all the people who owe us money. Ooh. Ooh. I felt that one. and we're working on not feeling guilty about the people that we owe by contacting them, even just consciously, in a way to make amends. Because the law of circulation is always happening. It's what?
Always happening.
And it's just a matter of how big a toe do you want to stick into the river. That's all it's about. And so if you want to hold back, you stick in a toe and you get a toe full. You know, but if you bring a tanker truck or a thimble, the river abundance does not care. It's going to fill it. And so this is an opportunity for us to be filled with the truth of who we are and to recognize that every experience is a God experience and that it's flowing through us and we are giving from the flowingness of consciousness. Yes? And so Matthew, Brother Matthew's in the house. Brother, I'm so grateful to see you. And he's going to be helping us with our offering today. We have a prosperity affirmation. Okay, thank you. Thank you. She keeps me on point. I'm just sorry. I need that. And the way we give electronically is
Give at SFCSL. And that's Zelle or PayPal, right? Zelle and PayPal.
What a voice. Thank you, John. Give at sfcsl.org. That's for Zelle or PayPal for those giving electronically, also in the room. And our prosperity affirmation says, I'm trying to do it from memory.
Yeah.
I believe it starts as I give. Yes.
As I demonstrate. No, that's
No. That's not how it starts. I'm thinking of a different one we
I
had
don't have it
before.
with-
You know it. You should. No, you wrote it. Okay. All right. Here we go. From a consciousness of abundance.
Consciousness of abundance.
And
Centered in
gratitude. I generously give.
I generously give.
I accept the gifts
I accept the gifts
of prosperity and abundance
of prosperity and abundance
as I demonstrate
the
divine law of circulation in my life.
divine law of circulation in my
In
life.
gratitude, I freely give.
In gratitude, I freely give.
In joyful acceptance, I freely receive.
In joyful acceptance, I freely receive.
Yes. Thank you.
I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. Taking a bit longer today. We have a lot more people here.
Just more people, and we don't have Oliver doing it. It's bad too.
Oh, all of you.
He moves at a different pace. It's all good. It's all good. Remembering who we are. Remembering who we are. It's the only debt we ever really have to pay is attention. And I'm just so grateful that I have found out that fact. And Brother Matthew, thanks again.
Maybe you should, excuse me. There are faces that I don't recognize, and I'm sure they don't recognize me. So I want them to know I'm not a stranger collecting their money. I've been here for a while, okay?
That little dude came in and just took the basket and one just left. Who the heck was that? I thought the minister knew him. They're probably in it together. Okay, before we put it away, we're just blessing this offering, knowing that it's been given from the heart and a consciousness of wholeness, allowing the fruits of abundance to wash over us, filling us from the depths of our being and out into all beingness. We say yes, and we accept, and so it is.
So it is. I think spiritual mind treatment. I think.
Spiritual mind treatment. Spiritual mind treatment is the way we affirm our prayers. It is not a beseeching prayer. It's a prayer of recognition. It begins with recognizing that there's one power, God. And then we unify with the power of God, that we are one with God. And then we state that thing that we desire, that condition that we say, and we state it from, as Stephen Covey says in Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, we begin with the end in mind. So we pray about the result and not the problem. That means if I'm sick, I talk about my healing. If I need money, I talk about my prosperity. If it's about a relationship, I'm not talking about nobody loves me. I'm talking about the wonderful relationship I'm creating with myself and all beingness everywhere. Are you with me so far? So that's the manner in which we pray. And so whatever the circumstances in your heart, please go to Solution right now. I'm going to Solution for Blvd now. Oliver, my first wife, and I'm going, my mom's on the way back from Africa right now. I know that she's in whole, perfect, and complete. I'm speaking for Art Cooper. Anybody want to put somebody's name into this conversation, you can think it, you can say it out loud. You know, when you say it out loud, it helps you deal with the shame of speaking out loud.
Lorna
Thank you,
Wirtz.
thank you, thank you. Keep it coming,
Linda
say it loud.
Adams,
Let's let them
Marshall
know that we
Forte.
appreciate them. Yes, and all the answers that God is here. I'm giving thanks and praise for once again coming into a place of understanding with like-minded heart, mind, spirited and action beings, knowing that right where we are and just as we are, we celebrate the idea that there's one life, one mind, one power, one presence. That there's one eternal giving nature that lives and breathes and has its being in and through and as all of creation. It lives and breathes and has its being in me right here and right now, in and through and as the San Francisco Center for Truth of Spiritual Living, all truth centers and all truth seekers everywhere, the practitioner corps, all the volunteers, all the service people, all beings everywhere are blessed, because the blessing is the presence itself, and each of us is an aspect of that presence. So the blessing continues ad infinitum in all circumstances, all situations, all beingness, and it rests and abides in me and through me and as me. What's true for me is true for each of us. What's true for me is true for each of us. And so I'm speaking a word for all of us. Knowing that right where we are and just as we are, the power and the presence of God is. It reigns supreme and all I think and all I say and all I do, and I walk and talk and live and breathe and have my being as a being that knows and knows that I know that I am flowing from the infinite indwelling self-existent source of all creation, that the substance and the strata of all beingness is animating my life right now. It cannot be otherwise. And so therefore, whatever concern I may have, whatever circumstance I may see or witness or remember, I know that it's all an aspect of the divine. And in that knowingness, I let go of whatever judgment I have about it, whatever pain I have about it, whatever anger or emotional reaction I have about it, and allow the consciousness of wholeness to sweep through me in such a fashion that divine connection unites all disharmony, all pain, and all discord, and surrender deeper and deeper and deeper into the world. And I allow this essence, full fluidity in all I think and all I say and all I do. What's true for me is true for each of us. Each of us is a surrendered being, open and receptive to the highest and the best of consciousness. And the highest and the best consciousness is consciousness. So each of us is open to that consciousness. Each of us is living that consciousness right now. It cannot be otherwise. Each of us is manifested and animated by that consciousness right now. Each of us is being fed by that inexhaustible supply of consciousness right now. Each of us is being healed on a cellular level. Every cell is firing in perfect unison as it was designed to fire. Default parameters in my physical body keep me whole, perfect, and complete. I surrender every idea of who and what I thought I might be to the divine blessing I continue to be. And what's true for me is true for all of us. All of us are evolving deeper and deeper and brighter into a grander awareness of the resplendent beauty of the divine indwelling and self-existent God, pumping the blood through our veins, rising the body with respiration. Every relationship is a relationship, divine union. Every relationship is a relationship with the divine. I surrender every idea other than this. I let go of every memory other than this. I surrender every anticipation other than the realization that I am always in relationship with the divine. And every relationship is an aspect of that relationship. And any relationship that needs healing is always about my relationship with myself. And I'm saying yes to that relationship and embracing all beings everywhere, calling all beings back into my presence. Ali, Ali, Al, sin free. Everybody gets a free pass. Everybody's set free. The dungeons of my consciousness are open and swept clean. And I say yes to the freedom. Oh, yes. Gratefully, I accept this awareness. Gratefully, I accept the realization that like the ear that's a pedal, I am a pedal of consciousness, extending deeper and deeper and rising higher and higher. And the only activity I experience is spirit coursing through my veins for my own self-expression. This is the truth for all beings. This is the truth for each of us. This is where we live and breathe and have our being. It's so right now. It's true right now. We're free right now. We're well right now. We're prosperous right now. I'm grateful that I know this. I'm grateful that I see this. I'm grateful that I'm experiencing this. I'm grateful that what's true for me is true for each and every one. And that gratitude is rising up in each of us in such a fashion that we can no longer remain silent about the truth of our own resplendent beauty and joy and prosperity and health. We say yes. And all is well. And so it is.
So it is.